We're back to the Jeff Kuhner Show. Call Kuhner now. 301-984-9570.
Blinded by the light. Wrapped up like a...
Welcome back to the Kuhner Show on 570 WTNT, the last honest man in Washington. 301-984-9570 is the number. If you want to speak with Larry Sinclair, he is the author of Barack Obama and Larry Sinclair, Cocaine, Sex, Lies, and Murder. Mr. Sinclair, so you're in Mexico. You see Barack Obama deliver a keynote speech at the Democratic National Convention. You're saying, well, he's still just a politician.
Exactly.
And then but then he runs for president in 2008.
Well, actually, it was in 2007 that I contacted his campaign.
Okay, now why did you contact his campaign?
Because I saw this guy, and I was watching news coverage of some people, of some young kids in Philadelphia who were telling, I think it was MSNBC, why they supported Obama or why they liked him. And they were talking about his drug use and about the fact that he was honest and transparent and this and that. And I'm like, wait a minute. You know, this isn't right. He needs to be honest. If he's going to be honest about his drug use, then tell the truth all the way to when he actually stopped. So I contacted the campaign. I never once mentioned the sexual encounters with the campaign. I simply said that he had lied about the extent of his drug use and he needed to come clean with it. Then I get these phone calls from someone identifying themselves as Donald Young. And this is something I think you and your audience needs to understand.
That's right. Now, here is where the plot really thickens. All right,
exactly.
Go, Mr. Sinclair. So now Donald Young contacts you.
Yeah, and he contacts me on cell phone numbers that were left with the campaign. This is a gentleman I've never met in my life, okay? And he claims to be a representative of the Obama campaign, and he asked me why I didn't ask them to, you know, come clean about the sexual encounter. That right there told me that this was no one that I had spoke to in the campaign, because I had never once mentioned the sexual encounters with the campaign. Never once. It was over the course of 3 months, a little more than 3 months, where he finally started opening up and explaining that he wasn't with the campaign, that he was actually intimately involved with Barack Obama, that he was the choir director at the church.
Now, this was at Trinity, right? At Reverend Wright's church.
Right. In one phone call, Donald Young had told me that he was consulting with his pastor, which at the time I figured, okay, it was Jeremiah Wright, the best way to come out and make the correction about his drug use. It was a couple of weeks later in a subsequent phone call that Donald Young is telling me not to expect him to come clean and starts having some hesitation in his voice and some concern about my safety. Little do I know it's not my safety that he should be concerned about. It was his.
Now, when you say he didn't want to come out, he didn't want to come clean about himself in terms of his relationship with Obama?
No. That Obama was not going to come clean about
I got you. Okay. About his drug use. I follow you.
Exactly.
And then Donald Young says to you that he's worried about your safety, but you're now, in retrospect, you're thinking maybe he was worried about his safety.
Well, no, he was worried about mine, but I think he should have been worried about his.
Okay. Now, what happens then? So he gives you a call. He says he's worried about your safety, and then what happens?
Well, I don't hear from him again, and it was around sometime in March of 2008, late March, that I realized that this Donald Young was, in fact, a gentleman that had been murdered on December 23rd of 2007. I contacted the Chicago Police Department, provided them a sworn affidavit in regards to the phone conversations had with this gentleman, the fact that I believed that his murder was related to Barack Obama and Jeremiah Wright, provided the Chicago Police Department with a list of cell phone numbers that had been contacted on and text messaged on, provided them...
Now, Mr. Sinclair, I'll let you continue, but I'm just curious. When you say that Obama and Wright were involved in the murder of Donald Young, how do you mean?
Well, I'm convinced that Donald Young was murdered for one reason and one reason only. You could not smear Donald Young the way I have been smeared by the Obama administration. I have a past. It's very easy for you to attack me, okay? Donald Young could not be attacked. Donald Young was a respectable choir director in the church. He was a school teacher at an elementary school. He was pursuing to become a principal in the Chicago public school systems. There was nothing in his background. If Donald Young had have come out publicly and acknowledged that he had conversations with me, Barack Obama's campaign would have been stopped in the water.
So you're saying that now? What did the police say when you asked them to investigate the murder? He was apparently shot dead, found dead in his apartment, correct?
That's correct. He was found shot with multiple gunshot wounds. The apartment door was closed. There was no forced entry. At first, people in South Chicago tried to say that there was a serial killer going after gay black men in the South Side of Chicago. That was quickly put to rest, and the media stopped reporting that. I had spoken with Detective McVickers. I've spoken with him off and on for almost, it's 2010, 2 years now.
And this is Detective that's overseeing the case?
He was the detective that contacted me on the morning after the Pennsylvania primary in 2008 regarding the affidavit that my attorney and I had filed with the Chicago Police Department. And now it's like he has been attacked and put under so much pressure to where now all I get is it's an open investigation. There's been no arrest made.
Mr. Sinclair, let me ask you this.
Go ahead.
What is the public good of you coming out with this? In other words, what do you say? Let me just play devil's advocate. Mm-hmm. You're throwing all of these accusations against Obama. You're saying he did drugs with you. You're saying he had sex with you. You're saying that he may even have been involved in the murder of Donald Young, who you say was his longtime gay lover. Mm-hmm. How can you prove these accusations? How is this not just a form of National Enquirer sort of smears? And more than that, what's the public good? Well, what's the purpose of all this?
I'm going to answer the last question first. The public good is, don't you think it's in the public interest that you know whether or not the person sitting at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue had someone killed in cold blood just so that they could get into that office?
What about his drug use? Because, I mean, you can't prove the Donald Young connection. I understand you have suspicions, but in relation to the drugs and the sexual encounters, how is this of public benefit or public good right now?
Because you need to know who it is that's making decisions that affect this country. You need to know that this person can be blackmailed. You need to know that this person has tendencies which can be exploited and used that can harm every American. It's pure and simple. And people don't understand that. This isn't about attacking or smearing someone. This is about doing what Barack Obama himself said when he first started his campaign. Openness, honesty, transparency, and a whole new kind of politics.
Now, Mr. Sinclair, again, just to play devil's advocate, you are somebody who you admit in your book was convicted and spent time in prison for theft and fraud. You are somebody
and forgery.
For forgery. Okay. That you're somebody who's an admitted drug dealer. You help to smuggle illegal aliens across the border. You have somebody with you're somebody with a criminal past. It's your word against Obama's word. Or not even, he hasn't even answered your accusations. But the point is, why should people believe you?
Well, why should people believe me? Because I contacted the credit card company when I first came public, Citigroup. Citigroup was prepared to release my credit card records from 1999. Then all of a sudden, I get contacted by the Chicago Tribune, John Crudson, who had spoken with David Axelrod, and told by Axelrod that they were going to destroy me and they were going to connect me with Bill Clinton. It's not that I can't prove it. It's that every aspect that we have taken to pull these documents and these records, I could prove it simply if Barack Obama would agree to release his own cell phone records from 1999.